United States Military General, U.S., Mark Milley even predicted that the Russian invasion of Ukraine would occur and would cost a large number of victims. General Milley has since seen 100,000 Russian troops near the Ukrainian border as the largest U.S. war has stepped up security assistance to Ukraine, amid fears of a Russian invasion with an increase of tens of thousands of Russian troops on the Ukrainian border. On the other hand, Russia denies any plans to attack and says U.S. support for Ukraine is a threat. General Milley, the most senior military officer in the U.S., warned that the scale of Russian forces near its border with Ukraine meant an attack would have severe consequences. If it were released into Ukraine, it would be significant, very significant, and would result in a large number of casualties. Fighting in crowded urban areas would be terrible, General Milley added. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said the U.S. was committed to helping Ukraine defend itself, including by providing more weapons. Conflict is unavoidable. There is still time and room for diplomacy, Austin said, calling on Russian President Vladimir Putin to defuse the situation. There is no reason that this situation should turn into a conflict. He can order his troops to leave, he added. President Biden said he would send a small number of troops to Eastern Europe in the near future to strengthen NATO's presence in the region. He did not specify where they would be stationed or when they would arrive. Earlier this week, the Pentagon said there were 8,500 combat-ready troops on standby, ready to deploy at short notice. The U.S. has rejected Moscow's main request for NATO to exclude Ukraine from joining the defense alliance, but has insisted on offering Russia a serious diplomatic route. Russian President Vladimir Putin has accused the West of ignoring Russia's security concerns. France said the two leaders had agreed on the need to reduce tensions and that President Emmanuel Macron had told Putin that Russia must respect the sovereignty of its neighbor. Belarusian leader Alexander Lukashenko supports Russian President Vladimir Putin. Russian military forces, including armored vehicles, tanks, and rocket systems, have moved into the region. Russia has also announced the deployment of advanced Su-35 fighter aircraft to Belarus, equipped with air defense systems, ammunition, and support medical. President Vladimir Putin has had several conversations with President Joe Biden, and until now, high-level discussions continue. But Russian officials warn that the West's refusal of their key requests has resulted in the talks stumbling. The question now is how far Russia will go. President Biden warned that a large-scale invasion would be catastrophic for Russia. But if these attacks were minor, he said, Western countries would be battling each other over what to do. The White House stressed that any movement across the border would count as an invasion, but also warned that Russia had other weapons, including cyber attacks and paramilitary tactics. The Pentagon accused Russia of setting up what it called a false flag operation, in which its members would sabotage Russian-backed rebels, so that there was a reason for an invasion. Russia denies these accusations. Russia has also distributed 500,000 passports to people living in rebel-held territory, so that if they don't get what they want, Russia can justify their actions under the pretext of protecting its citizens. Russia is seeking to increase its troop presence in Belarus six-fold to 30,000 armed forces, the United States said Tuesday during a heated UN Security Council meeting on Ukraine tensions. Speaking to the Council, Washington's UN envoy Linda Thomas-Greenfield said Russia had deployed 5,000 troops to Belarus along with short-range ballistic missiles, special forces, and anti-aircraft batteries, and had deployed more than 100,000 soldiers within its borders near Ukraine. Thomas-Greenfield said the Kremlin was engaged in an escalation in the pattern of aggression that we have seen repeatedly, citing the 2008 invasion of Georgia and invasion and annexation of the Crimean Peninsula in Ukraine in 2014. If Russia invades Ukraine any further, the consequences will be dire, he told the Security Council. Russia's war in eastern Ukraine has killed more than 14,000 Ukrainians. Nearly 3 million Ukrainians, half of them the elderly and children, need food, shelter, and life-saving assistance. Destroying like this situation, it will turn pale compared to the humanitarian impact of the full-scale ground invasion Russia is planning on Ukraine, he added. The U.S. representative was referring to Moscow's continued support for separatist rebels in eastern Ukraine that began in 2014, and which has continued for the past 8 years. The Council's public meeting came at the request of the U.S., and overcame Russia's procedural attempts to block it just before open debate. The U.S. has about 100,000 troops stationed on Russian territory on the Ukrainian border, saying that's not the case, and defending Russia never confirmed that figure. Russia's efforts to ignore concerns over a potential invasion were quickly rebuffed by Ukraine's envoy Sergei Kyslytsya, who said the international community continued to lack a credible explanation from Russia for its military actions and movements. U.S. diplomat Thomas Greenfield agreed with Kyslytsya, saying Russia's actions will speak for themselves. Russia is demanding that NATO limit its troops and weapons in Eastern Europe and ensure that Ukraine is not allowed to become a member of the alliance to ease ongoing tensions. NATO and the U.S. rejected the proposal, and Ukraine's envoy to the United Nations rejected Russia's call for Ukraine to be barred from being a NATO member, saying Kyiv's sovereign right to choose Ukraine's security guarantor, including potential membership in the transatlantic alliance.